This thing has split people down the middle.
The country at the moment is absolutely buggered.
There's just absolutely no trust in the government, and more so fear of the government.
South Africa has been home to one of the strictest lockdowns in the world over the course of 2020. With a population of almost 56.5 million, the number of COVID-19 cases increased severely in March and hospitals soon filled up. But that was only the start of their troubles. To regain control of the quickly diminishing country, the African National Congress Party introduced a harsh lockdown and banned the sale of alcohol and tobacco in late March.
It is vital that we do not burden our clinics and hospitals with alcohol-related injuries. We've now decided that the sale, the dispensing, and the distribution of alcohol will be suspended with immediate effect.
Citizens were completely shocked and continue to criticise the hasty motion. South Africa's small businesses and restaurants had to pivot in order to survive.
So what a lot of restaurants started doing, or what I've heard about, is that they would, you'd ask for a drink, and then they'd rock up and they'd bring a teacup to your table with a teapot there. You pour out the teapot, and now the liquid's red wine. In other circumstances, they'd taken empty, like zero alcohol beers and filled it up with actual beer.
The alcohol ban put more than 1 million people out of work, while the tobacco ban cost the nation more than 4 billion rand in uncollected excise taxes. Many citizens were forced into crime simply to survive.
Obviously, with these poorer communities in these lower socioeconomic areas, when it comes to things for them to do, because they're in those communities that are so poor, with I think 40% of the population of 59 million people are in poverty in Africa. So it's like, with those people not being able to go out and do stuff, it's like, well, what do? Smoke and drink, but they can't even do that. So it's like, how do they cope with this mindset of not only are they stuck in these, really, really ridiculously small communities where there are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people living in a single house, in these townships where there are hundreds, even thousands of people living in a singular area. How do they cope with that mentally when they can't even smoke, they can't drink, they can't even go outside? What does that mean for them?
Yeah, and I think it's even like you say, 12 people living in a house, but these houses are probably the size of the room that I'm in at the moment. And so they're all together, and again, they are stacked like less than a meter apart. It's literally a little square box made out of tin, sheets of aluminium and whatnot. And I mean, that's especially with the townships, what's for many people the reason for the alcohol and cigarette ban came out was to protect the townships. Now, like you said, they're stuck at home, they've got nothing to do, they're losing their jobs, they can't afford food, they don't have drink or cigarettes to have something to do. What's the next step? And it's crime.
The one big issue that this whole thing has produced in South Africa is an illicit black market.
Yeah.
So no one has stopped buying alcohol. No one has stopped buying cigarettes. They just do it on the black market now. Nicotine is a drug. You can't just switch it on and off.
Cartons of cigarettes costing usually 600 rand were being sold for up to 5,000 rand throughout the ban. When the cigarette prices skyrocketed, people were forced to make a tough decision.
I think the most I paid was 1,400 rand for a carton of smokes, and then reality sort of set in, and I was like, just no ways. There's no ways. Eventually, I just made a decision. I said, we can't afford that amount of money, so I gave up.
And for many, the trust in the government has been completely lost.
Yes, we know smoking is bad for you, right? But that's a person's choice to choose. If you live in a democracy, if you choose to live in a democracy, if you're born in like Australia or the UK or America or South Africa, well then you have a democratic right to make your own decisions, obviously within the law. Everything that our government's done is the most draconian, ridiculous, backward, unconstitutional, undemocratic decision that have ever been made in the history of our country.
Everyone's coming together because the entire country knows how much BS the government is putting us through. What are they going to do? What are they going to do next? How are they going to dramatically impact my life for the negative next?
But while the ban may have had disastrous consequences for the South African economy, the country's health system and crime rates received a reprieve during the 5 months it was in place.
Some people don't want to hear it, but the truth is that the ban on alcohol and tobacco, I believe, helped to some extent. We may not have all the details and all the research to back that statement up, but we know that based on what we've seen in other places, if we want to have things to play out the way they've played out in other places, there's something definitely that was done here that was quite different, that helped to a great extent.
The ban also incentivized people to quit alcohol or tobacco, another positive of the harsh regulations.
One study actually estimated that to be between 800,000 to 1 million South Africans have quit smoking. We've never had people quitting in such huge numbers in South Africa. We've never had it. So if you have about 1 million people quitting, that's a huge achievement. The more you try to quit, the more likely you will succeed at some point. When you have less of these toxins, in your system, the more likely your lungs will function better. The more likely you'll be healthy, the more likely that if you have an encounter with a virus, you will be able to fight it. And so I believe all this counted for something for us.
Of the 42,000 patients who present to South African hospitals every week, it is estimated that over 40% of these cases are directly linked to alcohol, while in 2019, 58 people were murdered on a daily basis. These numbers drastically declined during the ban, with trauma cases dropping by 70% and the nation's usually staggering crime rate falling by 40%.
And the ban obviously isn't a long-term solution, ban on sales, but it showed what effect you can have by stronger regulation. What happened was when the ban was instituted, there was an immediate drop, 60 to 70% drop in trauma presentations at the public hospitals around the country. And they were, instead of being battlegrounds for blood and alcohol, they were just very quiet. And I guess that was sort of part of the reason, but government didn't expect the effect to be so dramatic. And then when the ban was lifted, it went back up again, not back to the pre-lockdown levels, but it doubled and it went right up again. The issue for South Africa is we have a problem with heavy drinking. According to the WHO, about 31% of South African adults drink. I'd probably say it's probably a little higher, maybe 35%. And then the WHO's data say that 59% of drinkers engage in heavy episodic drinking at least monthly. It certainly put alcohol back on the map. I mean, many of us have been trying to do this for years, but I think the public's become aware of just how much of a problem it is. So there's certainly interest from government and the ruling party to do something more stringent around alcohol in this country.
The South African Medical Research Council has proposed a number of legislative amendments to help the country overcome its growing crime and alcohol problems. It's a long road ahead, but the council remains positive about the future.
I think that while South Africa is somewhat unique in having such an extreme heavy drinking situation, I think we're not that different also from some other countries. So I think there are lessons learned of the value of a tighter regulatory environment and how that will bring down the burden, particularly on non-natural deaths and hospital admissions. I think no one is saying that alcohol should be banned, but we're trying to get rid of the harmful use of alcohol. We're hopeful that it won't just go back to business as normal.